Welcome. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of a hero, a pioneer, and a mystery. In 1937, the world's most famous female pilot set out on a journey around the world. Her goal? To make history, to be the first woman. But in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, everything changed. A radio message came through. Then, silence. Forever. Amelia Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, vanished without a trace. One of the largest search operations in history was launched, but no trace was found. Over 80 years have passed, and it's still a mystery. Tonight, I'll tell you this extraordinary story from beginning to end. Who she was, what she did, and where she might have gone. Close your eyes, settle in, and let this story carry you away. Amelia Mary Earhart, born July 24, 1897, in Kansas. From an early age, she was different, not like other girls. She didn't want to wear dresses. She wasn't interested in housework. She wanted adventure, excitement, freedom. As a child, she climbed with her brother, scaled trees, played dangerous games. Her family worried. Girls don't behave like this, they said. But Amelia didn't care. At age 10, she saw an airplane for the first time, at a fair in Iowa. But back then, she wasn't even interested. Not interesting, she'd said. Years passed. Amelia grew up, went to school, trained as a nurse. In 1918, World War I was ongoing. Amelia was caring for wounded soldiers in Toronto. One day, she went to an air show. Planes were doing aerobatics, dancing in the sky. And in that moment, everything changed. Amelia was mesmerized. "I want to fly," she said. In 1920, Amelia moved to California and made a decision. She would learn to fly. But there was a problem: money. Flight lessons were very expensive. Amelia started working, multiple jobs. She drove trucks, worked as a photographer, took a position at a telephone company. She saved every penny. And finally, she had enough. First flight lesson, January 3, 1921. Her instructor was a woman, Anita Netta Snook. At that time, female pilots were extremely, extremely rare. Amelia took her first flight into the sky and fell in love. "We climbed to about 300 feet, she said later, and I knew I belonged up there." 6 months later, she bought her own plane, a yellow one, named it Canary. In 1922, Amelia set a altitude record for women, 14,000 feet, about 4,200 meters. Newspapers wrote about her. People talked, called her the Flying Girl. But Amelia wanted more. She didn't want it to just be a hobby. She wanted it to be her career. In 1928, Amelia was 30 years old. A phone call came. The caller? Captain Hilton Rayleigh. "Would you like to fly across the Atlantic?" he asked. "We're looking for a woman." Amelia didn't hesitate. "Yes," she said, but there was a condition. Amelia wouldn't be the pilot. She would just be a passenger. 2 male pilots would make the flight. Amelia was disappointed, but she accepted. This is an opportunity, she thought. June 17, 1928. The plane took off from Newfoundland. Destination? England. 20 hours and 40 minutes later, they landed in Wales. They'd done it. Amelia became the first woman to cross the Atlantic by air. The world went wild. Newspapers ran headlines. "Lady Lindy," they said. Like the female version of Charles Lindbergh. Amelia became famous. Suddenly, everyone knew her. But she wasn't happy. "I did nothing," she said. "I just sat there, like a sack of potatoes." She wanted to make a real flight, as a real pilot. And 5 years later, her chance came. May 20th to 21st, 1932. Amelia crossed the Atlantic alone, as pilot, from Newfoundland to Ireland. 14 hours and 56 minutes. The first woman. Solo. The world was shocked. Amelia became a legend. Awards poured in, medals, honors. President Hoover congratulated her. But Amelia didn't stop. She made more flights, set more records. In 1935, she made the first solo flight from Hawaii to California by a woman. Also in 1935, Los Angeles to Mexico City. First woman. Each time making history. But it wasn't enough. She had one more dream. The biggest dream. A world flight. Following the equator line. No woman had done this. Not even many men had attempted this route. She was approaching 40. "My last big flight," she said. "After this, I'll retire." In 1936, preparations began. Aircraft. Lockheed Electra 10E. Twin engine. Modern. Powerful. Specially modified. Extra fuel tanks added. Navigator. Fred Noonan. Experienced. He'd worked for Pan American Airways, one of the best navigators. 44 years old. Route. They would circle the world, following the equator line. Total, 29,000 miles, about 47,000 kilometers. Plan. Start from Miami, South America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, Pacific Islands, back to California. A challenging journey, but Amelia was ready. Fred was ready. The plane was ready. June 1st, 1937. Takeoff from Miami. First leg successful. South America, no problems. Africa, some turbulence, but fine. India, hot, exhausting. But they continued. Southeast Asia, Myanmar, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia. At each stop, journalists waited, took photos, asked questions. Amelia was tired, but determined. "Almost done," she said. June 29th, 1937. They arrived in Lae, Papua New Guinea. 22,000 miles completed. Only 7,000 miles remaining. The hardest part? The Pacific Ocean. Next destination? Howland Island. A tiny island in the middle of the Pacific, just 1.6 square miles. Empty. There was a runway, that's all. Distance? 2,556 miles, about 4,100 kilometers. Over the ocean. No landmarks. It was difficult. Very difficult. But Fred was experienced. Navigation was his job. Amelia was optimistic. "The last big jump," she said. July 2nd, 1937. Midnight. Takeoff from Lae. Destination, Howland Island. The plane rose into the sky, into the darkness, toward the ocean. And so, the final journey began. The first hours passed without problems. Fred was navigating, looking at the stars, making calculations. Amelia flew the plane, calm, focused. The weather was good, visibility was good, everything was going according to plan. At 7:20 in the morning, Howland time, Amelia sent a radio message. "Cloudy and overcast." The team on Howland heard it. Good sign. The journey was continuing. Around 8 in the morning, another message. About 200 miles out, approximately. The team was ready, waiting. But there was a problem. Amelia's radio frequency wasn't working properly. They could hear her messages, but Amelia couldn't hear them. There was no two-way communication. The team on Howland called repeatedly, but Amelia didn't respond. She couldn't hear them. At 8:43 in the morning, Amelia's voice. "We are running into clouds. Clouds." Her voice tense, not panicked, but concentrated. At 8:45 in the morning, again. "We are receiving you, but cannot get your direction. Please continue." The Howland team understood. Amelia couldn't find the island. She was lost. They were burning black smoke to send a signal, but no plane appeared in the sky. At 7:42 Greenwich time, 1912 local time, the last message. "KHAQQ calling Itasca. We are on the line 157-337. Repeat, on line 157 to 337. The voice clear, strong, but brief. And then, silence. No more messages ever came. The Howland team waited, made calls, again and again. "Amelia? Amelia, respond!" Silence. Hours passed. The plane didn't appear. Fuel was running out. Amelia could fly for 20 to 22 hours maximum. The clock kept ticking. And finally, time ran out. The plane had to have landed somewhere or crashed. But where? News spread quickly. "Amelia Earhart is missing!" The world was shocked. Newspapers ran front-page stories. Radio gave constant updates. The U.S. government took action. One of the largest search operations ever was launched. A fleet of ships was sent. Planes took off. Thousands of square miles of ocean were searched. 9 ships, 66 aircraft, $4 million spent. In 1937 money, approximately $70 million today. For 2 weeks they searched. Every square mile scanned. But nothing was found. No plane parts, no wreckage, no oil slicks, no life vests. No trace at all. July 19, 1937. The search was officially ended. Conclusion: lost at sea. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were officially declared dead. But what really happened? Over 80 years have passed, and theories still continue. Theory 1. Crashed into the ocean. Official theory. The simplest explanation. The plane couldn't find Howland. Fuel ran out. Crashed into the ocean. Amelia and Fred drowned. The plane sank to the ocean floor. Why? It makes sense. The Pacific is very deep, over 16,000 feet in that area. Wreckage might never be found. Radio messages suggest they were lost. Why? There are doubts. Amelia was very experienced. Fred was an excellent navigator. There was no panic in the last message. Why was no trace ever found? Theory 2. Landed on Gardner Island, also called Nikumaroro. The most popular alternative theory. Gardner Island, now Nikumaroro, 350 miles southwest of Howland, a small coral island. Empty. Abandoned. Theory. Amelia couldn't find Howland. Emergency plan. Go south. Look for Gardner. Maybe they found it. Maybe they landed on the island's flat coral reef. Emergency landing. They survived, but were stranded. The radio didn't work. They couldn't find food and water. Days passed. Weeks passed. No help came. And slowly, from hunger, from thirst, they died. Some evidence has been suggested. In 1940, a skeleton was found on the island, but it wasn't considered important at the time. In 2018, it was reanalyzed. Some researchers believe it could match Amelia's height and build, but this is debated. In 1991, metal pieces possibly resembling aircraft parts were found. In 2012, underwater sonar images showed something that might be aircraft wreckage, but it's not confirmed. Some researchers continued investigating this theory for many years, but there's no definitive proof. Theory 3. Captured by the Japanese. Conspiracy theory. In 1937, Japan was expanding in the Pacific, had occupied the Marshall Islands, built military bases. Theory: Amelia went off course, entered Japanese-controlled waters, landed or crashed near the Marshall Islands. The Japanese captured them, accused them of espionage, took them to Tokyo, and executed them. Or they died in prison. Some claimed evidence. Some Marshall Islanders have claimed they saw a white woman and man in 1937. A photograph was found. A woman and man at a dock in Japan from 1937. But the photo isn't clear. Is it Amelia? Not confirmed. Why? There are doubts. The U.S. government investigated this, found no evidence. Japan officially denied it. Most historians don't believe it. The wildest theory: Amelia was actually a spy, working for the U.S. government. Mission: to spy on Japanese military bases. Deliberately went off course, took photos, but was caught. Evidence? None. Just speculation. Theory 5. Survived and went into hiding. The most romantic theory: Amelia survived, secretly returned to the U.S., took a new identity, lived and died quietly. Evidence? None. Purely fantasy. No one knows. We probably never will. The two most plausible options. First, crashed into the ocean. Official theory. Second, landed on Gardner Island, became stranded. Some researchers' theory. Over the years, searches were conducted. A group called Tiger spent decades researching Gardner Island. They used underwater sonar, sent robots, analyzed bone fragments. In 2019, they reportedly stopped their search due to financial issues. Robert Ballard, the man who found the Titanic, conducted an expedition in 2019, but he didn't find anything conclusive. Some researchers still develop theories, analyze old photographs, but there's no large-scale active search anymore. It's a very deep, very vast ocean, and so much time has passed. Perhaps one day it will be found by chance. Perhaps never. Amelia Earhart disappeared, but she was never forgotten. She inspired women. You can do it too, she said. Follow your dreams, no matter what society says. She was one of the first female pilots. She opened the way, opened doors for others. Today, there are thousands of female pilots, astronauts, engineers. They're all part of Amelia's legacy. Her last words: "Flying is what I want to do. It's that simple." And it is that simple. Find your passion. Follow it, without fear. Amelia was fearless. She pushed boundaries, made history. She disappeared at 40, but became immortal. In 1937, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a small plane disappeared. Inside were two people, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan. They were never seen again. The largest search was conducted, but no trace was found. Over 80 years have passed. Theories continue. Some researchers continue investigating. Perhaps one day an answer will be found. Perhaps never. But Amelia's spirit lives on, in every female pilot, in every brave soul, in every person chasing their dreams. Difficulty should not deter you from attempting something, she had said, and she was right. The woman who vanished in the sky never truly disappeared. She's reborn in every generation. And now, you too can rest peacefully, among the clouds, in the sky, gently gliding. Your eyes are closing, your breathing deepening, and the story settles into your memory forever. Sleep well.